I'm going to start off this video by saying that I am a huge fan of Russell Westbrook. He's a fantastic athlete and one of the best players we have ever seen, and a top 10 point guard of all time. Saying all of that is what makes what the rest of this video is about so sad. This video is about why Russell Westbrook is without a doubt the most confusing player in NBA history, and potentially in the history of sports as a whole. Russ just makes my brain hurt because he will make a phenomenal play that only a few people in the history of basketball are capable of making, but then he will make plays where he looks like the 15th man on the roster that is getting paid to warm a bench, not lead his team.
Play on both ends. Westbrook, oh goodness gracious. Not many players in the league can do that.
Westbrook is without a doubt one of the most athletic players basketball has ever seen. He's also arguably the most athletic point guard in the history of the NBA. But being just a fantastic athlete is not enough. We've seen plenty of players that are wildly athletic that really weren't that great at basketball. And too much athleticism can really be a problem, believe it or not. And it's one that Westbrook has. One of the things that made Derrick Rose such a fantastic athlete was that not only could he flash his incredible athleticism by shooting like a bolt of lightning down the court and then throwing down a poster dunk, but he could also flash the control he had over that athleticism. Very few players in league history were as good at stopping and going as MVP Derrick Rose was. That's something Westbrook has yet to learn. A lot of people give Westbrook crap for the wild three-point shots that he takes. But no one seems to have a problem with the wild shots that he takes at the rim. When people look at Westbrook's poor field goal percentage, they assume it has to do with the crazy shots that he takes outside of the paint, but really his shots inside are the main factor in his field goal percentage, because Russell Westbrook doesn't shoot nearly as well from inside the paint as you would think. In a video by B-Ball Breakdown, Coach Nick pointed out how bad Westbrook has been around the rim for his career. Ranking guards that shot 150 more shots around the basket by season, Westbrook ranked 36 out of 37 in 2009, 36 out of 46 in 2010, 29 of 41 in 2011, 12th of 19 in 2012, 11th of 33 in 2013, 32nd of 42 in 2014, 40th of 54 in 2015, and 18th of 43 in 2016. I've often heard people say, and I've even thought myself, that if Russ wants to become more efficient, he should stop settling for jumpers and attack the paint more. But even then, he wouldn't be that much more efficient. So despite Westbrook's incredible athleticism, his lack of control of it doesn't allow for him to be poised around the rim, which hurts his field goal percentage and increases his inefficiency.
Jokic. Harris, good if it goes!
This is honestly the saddest part about Russ to me. A 6'4", athletic as hell, strong as hell point guard is a terrible defender. In my most recent Mythbusters video, I mentioned how defense is 70% effort and 30% physical attributes, and Russell Westbrook has those physical attributes and then some, which is sad because he doesn't have any of that effort. Westbrook has the potential to be an all-defensive first-team caliber point guard. With his size, strength, vertical, and speed, he could be a pest on defense, could guard 1 through 4 and lock down his opponent. But like I said, he doesn't put up effort on that side of the floor, and it really doesn't make sense when you think of the core of who Westbrook is or who he supposedly is. Russ is known as an all-or-nothing guy. He does nothing but try all game, but that only seems to apply on the offensive end of the floor.
Long three, Russell Westbrook, and it sails. Russell on the wing, a three, short and out of bounds, sailing away. His second air.
Remember how I started off this video saying that Russ could make one play that only a superstar could make and then would make one mistake that a scrub wouldn't make? Well, that train of thought doesn't apply to anything more than it does to Westbrook's basketball IQ. Because Westbrook will make a play like those 2 3-pointers versus San Antonio, just chucking 3-pointers early into the shot clock from 3 feet plus behind the line, and he'll also break down the defense off of the dribble and throw a dump-off pass to Steven Adams for the dunk. I've never in my life seen a player that is as up and down in the thinking department as Russell Westbrook is. He'll make a play only a Hall of Famer could make, and then make a mistake a G Leaguer wouldn't make. One of the most frustrating parts of Westbrook's inconsistent IQ is his inability to understand or care about his weaknesses. He refuses to stop shooting multiple 3-pointers a game, despite being a terrible shooter. Westbrook has shot 31.1% from 3 for his career. He shot 29.8% from 3 this season, which is 4.5% worse than the previous year, where he was shooting a lot more 3s. I don't know how that even makes sense. Honestly, the most unlikely thing about Westbrook's 2016-17 season wasn't averaging a triple-double, it was that he shot a career high from 3 on a career high amount of attempts, which was 7.2. But even then, Westbrook has no business taking 7 threes a game. The sad part about this is that Westbrook's poor 3-point percentage wouldn't even be as bad as it is if he took less, and more notably, took less jumpers off of the dribble. On catch-and-shoot 3-pointers, Westbrook shot 36.4% on 1.8 attempts per game, which is around league average. So if Westbrook took more off of the ball catch-and-shoot 3s, he wouldn't be considered such a bad 3-point shooter. But because of his inconsistency in IQ, he refuses to acknowledge this and continues to shoot 3s that only Stephen Curry has business taking. And speaking of off-ball movement, this is honestly my biggest gripe with Russell Westbrook. I think that maybe Westbrook is so used to having the ball so much that when he doesn't, he almost short circuits until he has the ball back. Like when the ball is out of his hands, he's on dial-up until it's back. It's something you should look out for next time you see him play. Outside of basketball, it's just weird human behavior. Again, the sad part about his lack of off-ball movement is he has all of the potential in the world to be a great off-ball player. Being that he is a large point guard, he could be a huge threat off of the ball. He could cut back door and finish over smaller guards deep inside the paint, catch a lob if the pass is right. Maybe on an off-ball screen he gets a switch, he can get the ball and attack that. And like I said, he isn't bad as a catch-and-shoot guy, so if he learned how to run around screens and create space for himself, he could be considered a better 3-point shooter. And he could also use his signature explosiveness off of the catch, because being able to attack off of the catch is one of the most underrated aspects of basketball. But unfortunately, Russ does none of this and continues to short-circuit with the ball not in his hands. Now, if Westbrook's biased fanboys hadn't already left a hate comment and clicked off of the video yet, this section will do it here. Now, I can already hear you typing your comments, but, the Thunder won 82% of the games that Westbrook got a triple-double. They're 81-18 in the regular season when he gets a triple-double. Well, that is just an example of a blank statement that has no context, because to put it simply, not every game that resulted in Russell Westbrook's triple-double average had a triple-double in the box score. As an example, let's say that Westbrook has a game where he gets 25 points, 8 rebounds, and 11 assists. Then a game with 27 points, 13 rebounds, and 8 assists. Then a game of 22 points, 9 rebounds, and 14 assists. That still averages out to a triple-double. But none of those games were a triple-double. And Russ had plenty of games with stat lines like that this season. One in particular that stands out is in the last game of the regular season versus the Memphis Grizzlies, Westbrook had to get 16 rebounds to average a triple-double. Now, did he just play his normal game and say to himself, oh, maybe I get the triple-double average, maybe I don't? No, of course he didn't do that, because he stat pads. He grabbed 20 rebounds that night along with 19 assists and only had 6 points. So conveniently, in a game that Westbrook needed 16 rebounds, 6 more than his season average, he doubled his season average. Really interesting how that worked out. And yes, they won that game, but it was against the Memphis Grizzlies, so it's not much of a feat. But there were plenty of games where he was just short of a triple-double where they lost. In the March 30th matchup versus the Nuggets, the Thunder lost as Russ fell 1 rebound short of a triple-double. But him grabbing a defensive rebound instead of Steven Adams definitely would have made the difference in that game. And there are plenty of examples of this season. And I am sure there are plenty more in the 2016-17 season. 10 losses this season where Russ was just short of a triple-double. Were 1 to 3 extra assists or rebounds really the difference maker in a blowout losses or losses to bad teams? I did discount some games where the score was close, and 3 extra assists actually would have made the difference. But overall, the difference in stats is not enough to correlate that with winning. And for proof that he stat pads, well, here's some footage of Russ trying to force passes for assists. This is not natural basketball. He really is just looking for an assist, and this is not a natural part of an offensive flow. He also sags off of his matchup on a regular basis for the rebound, or just actively looks for the rebound a lot more than he looks to guard his man or advance up the court for the fast break. And for those that might say stat padding doesn't hurt his team, leaving your matchup open for shots to grab a rebound isn't good for your team. Forcing passes that really are not in the flow of the offense isn't good for your team, and not running the fast break so a guard can stay back for a rebound is not good for your team. So in conclusion, though I did not talk about the many good things that Westbrook does in this video, I hope we all know those. All those good things he does gets diminished by the many problems with his game, but he will ultimately be remembered for his triple-double average in 2 consecutive seasons, but he will also be known for never being able to win. And sadly, the way his play has been exposed recently has made Durant's decision to leave the Thunder look a little bit more justified. Also, I would just like to retract the few times in different videos where I said that Russell Westbrook is the best point guard in the NBA. That title belongs to Stephen Curry. That's the end of this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe for more NBA content.